Hello everybody, this is Joseph, the first J of Jmdjstudios, and welcome to our channel. It's another one of my vlogs, but this time it's going to be for Halloween 2016. One of the ways that I like to celebrate Halloween every year is by playing some of my favorite video games. This year, I'm going to share with you guys some of my personal favorite video games to play on Halloween. I'm not going to spend a lot of detail talking about each one, but what I will do is go through the list, give you guys some detail, and tell you why I love playing them. If you like this video, keep in mind, before you get to the end, if you like this video, make sure you hit that like button and comment below what are your favorite Halloween games, and also comment below if next year if you'd like to see another list like this, but maybe I can go into more detail with it. So without further ado, starting off the list, I want to start off with the game that started it all. This game literally pioneered the survival horror genre. It is one of the first, if not the very first, in its series. But it's the first that I know of, so it is Haunted House on the Atari. And you can get this game in a multiple different ways. I prefer playing the original. I'm sure there's actually a copy of this online. You can also play the, I think it's a sequel, Haunted House on the Wii. It's not as good, but it's there. And you can also play it on the Atari Flashbacks that comes out October 11th, 2016. I think it's on volume 2, and it's like for PS4 and I think Xbox One, so you can get those if you want to play Haunted House. I would highly recommend it. It's actually really fun. It's really interesting to see where these amazing games that follow came from. Next up on my list, I'm still going retro with this one. It's on the Sega, and it's Haunting, starring Poltergeist. Now this game is pretty interesting. It came out in 1993, and basically it's a lot like, it feels like Beetlejuice when you're playing it, if you like Beetlejuice. You play as this guy, he's Poltergeist, and you are scaring a family out of their house. That's the object of the game. You move around and interact with objects to freak them out. So like, you know, having giant eyeballs pop out of the kitchen sink, or turning on the garbage disposal and seeing like blood gush out of it. Those kind of things to scare the families out of their house, and you go from one house to the next. You have an ectometer, and here's what's cool. When your ectometer gets too low, you are sent to the underworld, and you have to collect ectoplasm and try to survive. So it's really a game. Every time you go into the underworld, you actually have a chance of losing the game. So it's puts you on edge when you get under there. But that's Haunting, starring Poltergeist. Now, you can't have Halloween without catching some ghosts and hunting some monsters. I mean, you can take that from me because I love Ghostbusters and Supernatural. So why not start out with the original Ghostbuster, the original hunter, Pac-Man. Pac-Man is really not a scary game, but it definitely has that Halloween vibe to it because after all, you are being chased by and chasing ghosts. It's a very simple game. If you don't know Pac-Man, you need to play it. This is available everywhere, guys. This is the original Atari version. I wouldn't recommend playing this one. It's not that good, but play any of the other versions and you'll be fine. But it's a very simple game of cat and mice. You basically collect power pellets, and once you collect them, the ghosts turn blue and you chase them and you can eat them. So it's literally a game of going back and forth between running from the ghost and chasing the ghosts. Really fun, really addictive. Try it out. And of course, you can go full on Monster Hunter with Monster Hunter. Now this is Monster Hunter Ultimate 4. Really like this game. This is my favorite Monster Hunter game in the series. Now, this game came out last year, but on the 3DS you can get Monster Hunter 3, 4, and Generations. They're all fabulous games. They're great. I would recommend any one of them. I think if I had to rank them, it would be 4, then 3, then Generations. That's just for right now. Haven't played as much Generations as the other two, so that's not really fair, but I would definitely recommend Monster Hunter 4 on the 3DS. It's basically a game where every fight is a boss fight. And it gets progressively harder. It's an RPG, it's extremely long, and it's amazing. I would highly, highly recommend this game to anybody who has a 3DS. Pick it up, hunt some monsters, put this, watch an episode of Supernatural, and then play some of this. That's all you gotta do. Now, there's another way to hunt monsters, or, well, in this case, demons, and it also came out this year. One of the best games that came out this year, Doom. You have got to play Doom. Either play the original, I mean, you can find copies of Doom everywhere on the Super Nintendo, in the arcade, on the N64, on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, and on the PS4. Really good, amazing game. This game was really the sequel to Doom that everybody wanted. It's really, really good. Like, I would give it a 10 out of 10. That's just me. I really like this game. It's very hard. It's very difficult. Sometimes even frustrating, it's so hard. But that is why Doom's so awesome, because you don't want to stop. You want to keep going. It's very high-paced, high-action all the time. So if you want to hunt some monsters, Doom is the game to do it. And we've got a couple more here for hunting. Luigi's Mansion. This is the original. You can also pick up the sequel on the 3DS, but I prefer the original. The original is shorter, but each ghost has a personality, and that's what I really like. Like, you know, you have Bogmire, who is this creepy shadow thing who can clone himself hundreds of times, and he protects the graveyards. And then you've got the Neville, the bookish father, who sleeps in his study and makes creaking sounds. He rocks the chair back and forth and yawns throughout the middle of the night. You know, that's terrifying. You can imagine being in Luigi's shoes, walking down the hallway and hearing those noises and be like, well, I don't want to go in that door. But every ghost in this game has a personality, and it makes you want to find out more about them. And it really focuses on exploring that mansion. So I really, really like this game. I would definitely pick it up. It is a very underrated gem. Actually, it's not so underrated anymore, but it was when it came out. If you haven't played it, pick that up. Next, you can't have Halloween without Scooby-Doo in the gang. And this is the best Scooby-Doo game, in my opinion, that's came out. Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights. This game came out on the PlayStation 2, and I think the GameCube, and it is just a fantastic game. It's a 3D platformer. You get to play as Scooby and go through all the different levels. It's so good. And it starts out with, I don't think Shaggy's there either. I think it starts out, Scooby is all alone, and all of his friends have been kidnapped, and they're in this mansion with the evil mastermind. And he's bringing all these classic monsters back. Like on the back here, I can see the Black Knight, and I think the Creeper is in this one as well. I think that's his name. But there's just so many of them on here. From I think Captain Redbeard's in it too. It's just so good of a game. Pick this up. And last but not least on our hunting monsters list is Ghostbusters. This is not the new Ghostbusters. I haven't played that yet, so I can't give you guys an honest opinion on it. I don't want to recommend something if it's not going to be good. So this right here is Ghostbusters, the video game for Xbox 360, and it came out in 2009. This is like a sequel to the original Ghostbusters. Basically, Ghostbusters 1, 2, and then this. It is a really good game. It's really fun. It's actually pretty lengthy. I like it a lot. It's definitely worth the money, and you can probably find it a pretty good deal now at GameStop, so I would definitely pick this up if you want to get into some Ghostbusting action this Halloween. Up next is a game that came out last year, if I'm not mistaken, but it's Dying Light. Dying Light is we're getting into some zombies now. I only put, I think, 2 zombie games on the list because there's so many of them and I want to focus on other stuff. Dying Light is an incredible game. It combines elements of like Mirror's Edge, like fast-paced action and free running, but you're killing walkers. And it's so engaging, and it actually makes you afraid to go out at nighttime in this game, because at nighttime the zombies get stronger and these creepy things come out. So it's really cool. It's a really great game to play, and I had a lot of fun with it. It's got a lot of RPG elements, and it's a really long game, and then the DLC that came out with it made it even better. So if you can get a chance to pick up Dying Light with the DLC, I would highly recommend it to anybody. Dying Light. The next zombie game on my list is one of my other favorite zombie games, Dead Island. This is the original, but there's so many different Dead Islands coming out, and there's a new one on the way. You can't go wrong with Dead Island. There are some people that I know that don't like Dead Island, but for me, I really like it. It's not as good as Dying Light in my opinion, but it's kind of close to that. So it's got a lot of similar elements, and it's got a lot of similar themes to it. So Dead Island is a really good zombie game. If you want to pick one of the two, you might actually be able to find Dead Island cheaper. So either way you want to go, you're going to get a winner, I think. So there's that. Up next is a really old game as far as the modern generation is concerned, but it is one of my all-time favorites for the Xbox 360. Condemned Criminal Origins. Now this game, I don't think a lot of people know about. And I'm not gonna lie, the graphics are not that great. But all of that aside, this game is intense. It is scary. The atmosphere is great. You feel underpowered. I think your name is Thomas. Yeah, Ethan Thomas. You're an FBI agent and you're on an investigation of a serial killer. And the game, it's just so creepy and it is so worth it. This is definitely a great Halloween game to play. If you haven't played it, I urge you to pick this up. You can probably find this for like $2 or $3. Give this a shot. You won't regret it. And there's a really cool sequel to it too. I don't think it's as good as the second one, but the graphics are better, so I would recommend playing both of them. The next one is a psychological action thriller, Alan Wake. Now, Alan Wake is this incredible game by Remedy, Microsoft. Let me just tell you that the story in this game alone would sell this game. That's all I'm going to say about this game. That's all that it needs. You need to play Alan Wake. I got it pre-owned years ago for $17.99, so I'm sure you'll fetch a really good price for this game. It's like it says in the back, it's a part action game, part psychological thriller. But the game has this twist to it at every turn, and then every time you think the game's going in one direction, it goes in another direction. It is amazing. I would highly recommend this game. The next one is Fear, the Fear series. Now, I think there's 3 of these out by now. This one is kind of creepy. Fear stands for, let me find it. Oh, it's on the front. It stands for First Encounter Assault Recon. You are a group of soldiers who are put together by the government to fight off supernatural entities when they appear. And you are fighting supernatural entities in this game. And yeah, it don't really work so well, but they're definitely worth playing if you like first-person shooters, especially. First one is okay, but the second one really picks up, and the third one I think hits its stride, and it's pretty great. So, but I would definitely recommend picking these up. And there's some Fear extraction files that go in between, I think 1 and 2, and if you pick those up, those are actually really cheap too. You can get a lot of really cheap deals this Halloween if you follow my list. And I promise you, you won't regret it. Now this next one is one of the best. It's by Bethesda and Tango Gameworks, I think is what it's called. And oh, it's so good. But it's The Evil Within. The Evil Within is a super scary game. It is one of the best that I have played in a long time. Not often do I play a survival horror game and play it, and then immediately when I'm done, I'm like, yeah, I want to do that again. Most of the time, I'm like, well, that was awesome. Glad that's over. Let's move on to something with a lot of color and, you know, happiness. Like Barney in the corner singing, I love you, you love me, stuff like that. Like, I'm ready to get away from that for a while. Not this game. This game, when I finished this game, I was like, I need to put this back in and play it again because it was so awesome. But everything about it screams classic horror movie, but it's a game, and it's crazy. I would highly, highly recommend picking up this game. Next is a game that came out last year as well. We did a Let's Play of this series, if you want to check it out, but it is Until Dawn. This game is basically a cheesy 80s scary movie with a butterfly effect laid into it. So basically, you are playing as these stupid teenagers who go up on this mountain, and there's Wendigos, which are evil creatures running around, and a psycho murderer killing people. And you have to make choices as these stupid teenagers. So every choice you make will lead you down a different branch. And your goal is to get all of them out alive. And it's a lot harder than it sounds. But it is a very good game. I think this is an exclusive on the PlayStation, and there's a sequel to this coming out on the PlayStation Virtual Reality, and it may or may not already be out. I'm not 100% sure on the release date, but it's really good, and I would highly recommend checking out our Let's Play of this series. It's Josh's first Let's Play, Josh from the channel, and it's hilarious. It's really cool. You have to take the journey with him and see if he can get everybody out alive or not. Next is another Let's Play that we're doing this year, actually. This game came out this year. If you like Minecraft, you'll probably like 7 Days to Die. Before we go any further, I do have to mention this because this game is probably the lowest rated game on this list. Not by fans, but by critics. And it's because the game is still not a finished game. It's still in the alpha. They're still programming, testing, putting out new updates, putting out new content for this game. It is a growing game. It grows as you play it, which is cool. It's a gift and a curse. That being said, this is a new startup company, and Telltale Publishing picked this game up, and I'm so glad they did. Thank you guys for that. Really amazing game. But it's basically a zombie apocalypse. You start out in the middle of nowhere with close to nothing, and you have to figure out what you're doing. It's not an easy game to pick up for first-time players. I would recommend starting out, watching the tutorials first, starting out on your own, playing about 7-8 days, figuring out where you're at, and starting over. You'll know everything you need to know in that point of time, and basically you explore, you build, and kill zombies. So that's pretty much all I can say about that. I will say I've probably spent more time with this game and Minecraft on the Wii U this year than most other games. And it's just such a fun experience. And it's a co-op game, and you don't have many co-op games anymore. I would recommend 7 Days to Die. And I think it's only 20 bucks. Not a bad price. It's either 20 or 40. Something like that. Next up is a super scary game. Came out like last year or the year before that on the Xbox One. Alien Isolation. This game, highly rated, very good survival horror game. If you like the Alien franchise, the movies that from the 80s, oh, it's so good. The voice actress that played Ripley came back for this game, and oh, it's so good. It's scary, it's intimidating, it's terrifying. The atmosphere as you are exploring the spaceship and sometimes planets is very scary, and the AI of the alien is also very scary, because when the alien comes, you hear this music, you know it's there. Sometimes you don't even see it, you can just hear it. Nothing is scarier than you're hiding from the alien and you're like, please don't find me, please don't find me. You're in a locker and you can see through the vent, and the alien walks by the locker and you're just like, oh God. And then you don't know what's going to happen. The alien might pass you up and leave the room, or it might sense you and rip the locker door open, and you're screwed. So, really good game. I would highly recommend this game to everybody. Next up is a fighting game. It came out, well, the definitive edition came out this year on Xbox One, Killer Instinct. Killer Instinct is a great game series anyways. You can play the originals. There's one on the 64, there's one on the Super Nintendo. There might be, I think Killer Instinct was part of the Rare replay for the Xbox One as well. I could be wrong. But, that being said, Killer Instinct, it's a fighting game, and you might be wondering why that's in here, but the majority of the characters in this game are Halloween themed. You've got a skeleton, you've got a werewolf, you've got demons and monsters and dinosaurs and dead people, zombies and mummies, and all kinds of crazy creatures in this game, and I would highly recommend it. It's a really fun fighting game. It's different from other types of fighting games, but I think this heavily competes with games like Tekken and Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. Killer Instinct is awesome. I would highly recommend playing it. I've only got a few more games left, guys, so bear with me. The next one is The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Now this is the 3DS edition, but you can play the original on the 64, and I think there's one on the GameCube you can get, but there's several great ways to play this game. It's probably on the Virtual Console, I don't know. But Majora's Mask is the scariest Legend of Zelda game out there. This game is weird. I'm not gonna lie, it's weird. That's what makes Majora's Mask stand out from the crowd. It is a typical Zelda game where you dungeon crawl, and it's an open world, and it's got RPG elements and action adventure and exploration. But you collect these masks, and it's kind of Halloween-y themed, because in like 3 days, I think it's like 3 days, the moon is going to crash into the earth, and that it's going to destroy everything. And the moon has this really creepy face on it. It's a scary game. It's a game that involves time travel as well. Basically everything I love packed into one. But it's really good, and this one you'll probably have to pay full price for, or close to full price for, but it is worth it. It is definitely a classic, and it's definitely worth it. If you can play it on 3DS, I would recommend that version. But next up, 3 left. This is the 3rd installment in the series, but I would recommend the whole series. But it is Zero Time Dilemma. Now, these games are visual novels on the 3DS. They are point-and-click adventure-style games. But this one is basically, without giving too much away, crazy people gather 9 people and force them to play the nonary game. And it's kind of like, if you've watched the Saw movies, it's kind of like that. They put themselves in life or death situations, and they might have to make decisions that must influence who lives, who dies, who gets out, and who doesn't. In this particular game, only 6 people have to die before they can get out. And that's what's crazy. You get to control 3 different characters, and they're divided into 3 teams. So you will literally get to know each and every character in this game. From the get-go, you're going to be suspicious, because the rumor is one of them is the guy that put them in there in the first place. And you have no idea if that's true. Is it true? Is it false? Is it the guy I'm playing as now, or is it one of the people on my team? How can I identify who's who? But it's a fantastic story with a fantastic ending, with fantastic controls, fantastic everything. I love it. But the story is the highest part about it, so pick it up. Okay, I have with me one of the classic survival horror games. Most people, when you say that genre, they think of Resident Evil. Now, Resident Evil, of course, it's a zombie game as well. Somewhat, it's also kind of a mutant game. Resident Evil, this is the original I have with me, but Resident Evil 1, 2, pretty much all of them. All of the Resident Evil games I've played are really good, except for, I didn't really like Operation Raccoon City, but you can't go wrong. If you want to pick up a newer Resident Evil, I would recommend Resident Evil Revelations on the 3DS or Wii U, but they're all really good. You can't go wrong with the original. Suspenseful, scary, great, addicting gameplay. I love the Resident Evil series. I wish I could play more. And last but not least, and this one's going to turn a few heads, Banjo-Kazooie. Now the reason, if you've watched the channel before, you know this is my favorite game of all time. And a lot of people are saying, what in the world? First of all, I think this is the only game on my list rated E for everybody other than like Pac-Man and Scooby-Doo. This game has a Christmas level, you say, so why in the world is it on my Halloween list? The overall feel of Banjo-Kazooie to me has always felt like a supernatural Halloween game. You go through, first of all, the overall plot. You are fighting a wicked witch, okay? The guy who helps you is a skeleton shaman, so it's already kind of this supernatural feel to the overworld and stuff like that. But there are, you know, in the Egypt level, for example, in the desert level, I think it's actually called Gobi's Valley, there are like mummies running around, and there's abominable snowmans in the Christmas levels, and there are skeleton creatures and like mutated creatures and stuff like that all throughout the game. So it makes it feel a lot more Halloween themed overall, because the whole game takes place in Gruntilda's lair, which is the main villain of the game. But it's a great game anyways. It's a 3D platformer, and you really can't go wrong with this game. You can get this game on the 64. You can get it on Rare Replay or the 360 Marketplace. So, I said Marketplace. Is that right? Is that the right terminology there? I feel like it is. Anyways, if you don't, if you wanted an even darker story than this, you can go for Jmdjstudios. In my opinion, the game has a more darker feel to it. There's a lot more themes, if you will, in that game that deals with, you know, the main character death and more witches and more creepiness overall, and the tone of the new area you explore is much darker than the original game. But either way you go, you can't lose. If you pick a game that I recommended, I would really appreciate it, because the developers of these games did stellar jobs. They're fantastic games from the start to the finish. So make sure you pick one of these up. Try out my recommendations. Comment below what are your favorite games, and make sure you check out our Let's Plays. You can check out, I'll put some cards up here. I'll put some before and now. You can check out our Until Dawn Let's Play, which is really cool, and our 7 Days to Die Let's Play, which is really cool. Well, so you can click on those. We would greatly appreciate it if you check out some of our other content. Subscribe, and make sure you comment. We would just love to talk to you guys in the comments below. And I will see you guys next time. Have a happy Halloween.